Hey guys, this is Joe, founder and host of Startuprad.io. As you guys may already know, I've run this podcast full-time since January 2021. I'm very happy to announce that Anchor FM is my sponsor for this podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free and it's easy to use, even for a newbie. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. Today, it's shortly before Christmas, and of course, I have something special for you. I do have the Chief Digital Officer of Börse Stuttgart, and if you know some German, it's the Stuttgart Stock Exchange, where Stuttgart is a city to the southwest of Germany, southwest of Frankfurt as well. You may know it as the headquarters of Mercedes-Benz or Bosch. But I would like to welcome you. Hey, Ulli, how you doing?
Hey, Joe. Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's always my pleasure to have you as a guest. We've been talking a lot before, and basically you have a very interesting CV. And as always, everybody who would like to reach out to you or add you, down here in the show notes, there's your LinkedIn profile. I've been looking a little bit at you, and basically you've not always been a corporate employee as you're now, but before that you have done quite a lot of interesting stuff. Can you walk us a little bit through what you've done before your current position?
Yeah, sure. Joe, thank you very much. So actually, my academic background is economist. I did my PhD then in finance and market microstructure. And this is also where I basically started my career then as a startup entrepreneur. I was doing a European research project, which was funded by the European Commission for a consortium back then, consisting of large European international enterprises and research institutions. And the back then the idea was basically, this was already in 2009, 2010, to extract all possible information on a semantic basis from the internet. So unstructured data, analyze this type of data in a very structured way so that you can use this for trading decision support. And this is also where my co-founders of the company of the fintech startup that I founded afterwards. These guys are based in Slovenia, and they are coming from a research institution for physics and IT, and are primarily brilliant data scientists and developers. And it was always for me, I had a lot of ideas what you can do in the financial domain, particularly of analyzing data to use it in a, let's say, structured way for trading support. And those guys were incredible in transforming my ideas into actual products. So once the research project that we did for the European Commission was over, I asked the guys whether they would like to join me for a fintech startup. So in 2013, we got together. Already the developer side and my co-founders stayed in Slovenia, and I was based in Stuttgart, Germany. And the company was founded in Stuttgart, and this is where it all started in 2013. So we gradually moved from this data analytics part, more also into evaluating data about cryptocurrencies, as the co-founders come from Slovenia. Bitcoin, etc., is in Slovenia much larger back then than it was in Germany. Basically, I never heard about Bitcoin before 2014, when my co-founder actually told me, "Hey, Ulli, let's also analyze all this data on social media about Bitcoin." And I was like, "Bit what?" So I never heard about it. So my co-founders from Slovenia obviously had a much closer connection to crypto and to Bitcoin, as maybe you know the fact that Bitstamp is coming from Slovenia. And so the whole topic of cryptocurrencies was much larger in Slovenia at an earlier stage than it was in Germany. And then we, in 2014, started to look into it, also, created products and analytics tools on cryptocurrencies. And the company gradually grew. We had institutional clients like Börse Stuttgart, like Swiss Re, FactSet, Interactive Data back then. And then we were scaling up, and we met with Börse Stuttgart's CIO back then, and tested a little bit, what can be done with financial markets in the future if you completely rethink it based on blockchain technology and also on cryptocurrencies. And to the same time, the company was also moving more into creating trading systems for financial instruments of any kind, so crypto or regular financial assets. And then in 2017, we actually wanted to scale up, find another investor to move forward, to move to the next step. We got together with Börse Stuttgart, designed their digital strategy. So the CEO back then, Alexander Höppner, and myself, we were designing the strategy. And then we decided that probably it would be best for both parties if we would join forces. And that actually led to the fact that we sold the company in 2017 already to Börse Stuttgart completely, to move together and create the digital strategy of Börse Stuttgart.
We may add at this point that Börse Stuttgart is pretty big in trading place for especially retail structured products. So going into the direction of crypto trading, especially for retail, did make sense, of course, for them, right?
Yes, exactly. So let me give you a little bit of a background of Börse Stuttgart. So this is this 160-year-old exchange, which is based in Stuttgart, Germany. And we are among the 10th largest exchanges within Europe. And in the particular field of retail structured products, so warrants, derivatives, any kind that are actually tailored for retail investors, and we are European market leader. And back then, the strategy to go into this retail-oriented product actually also led to the fact that as a stock exchange, obviously, you have all these retailers that are trading the products, but always have the intermediary in between. So they go over their broker, over the bank, and you don't really have direct access. And this was the main idea to say, look, now we have cryptocurrencies, and we are able, over the asset class of cryptocurrencies, to create a direct access without any intermediary to get our client base directly onboarded. And this was then back then the idea to say, let's do crypto, and then we gradually see where the market moves and where the blockchain community moves. And then, of course, you saw all these things coming up back then with ICOs and what is now more the token economy and security tokens that are evolving. And we back then already saw that this would be something really interesting for the future, also for this retail-oriented focus, starting from cryptos, then gradually moving on into the security token field.
And to the best of my knowledge, you guys are the only licensed stock exchange in Europe where you can actually trade cryptocurrencies. Is that true?
Well, the fact is that when we started, we have two type of trading facilities where you can purchase Bitcoin as a retailer. So one is our app called BISON. This is where you can directly buy and sell cryptocurrencies on a broker base. Your counterparty is always bilaterally Euwax AG, which is a subsidiary of Börse Stuttgart Group. It's our own brokerage company. And here you have bilateral trading against Euwax. And as you just mentioned, Euwax is in Germany a licensed financial institution. So we were the first to provide crypto buying and selling from in Germany licensed financial institution, if you want to put it that way. What we created on top afterwards was a multilateral trading facility, which is actually meant for a more institutional way of trading. So we created Börse Stuttgart Digital Exchange, which is a multilateral trading facility. And the multilateral trading facility is actually licensed by another company of Börse Stuttgart Group, which holds the license, which is then fully licensed as a MTF within Germany. So yes, you can say within Germany, we are the only party that actually provides Bitcoin trading under an MTF license, and also cryptocurrencies, obviously.
And also other cryptocurrencies. Sorry, I'm afraid I interrupted you there very shortly. So we may add Euwax is the place at Börse Stuttgart where you can trade all the fancy retail structured products. Of course, we'll have a link down here in the show notes where you can read more about this. So can you tell us a little bit, because not everybody is familiar with the term multilateral trading facility, MTF. Can you explain a little bit, just in layman terms, what that actually is?
So at the multilateral trading facility, you actually have to have certain things in place, as for instance, trading surveillance. So if we would do peer-to-peer trading, which is quite unregulated, you and me can do whatever we want. It's also not controlled by any, let's say, surveillance entity and surveillance body. If you do trade on a multilateral trading facility, which is very similar to an actual exchange, then you have these things in place. And of course, this gives an edge to the investor, and it gives more protection to the investors amongst each other, because they can be sure that the trading that happens there is working under a certain set of rules. And this, I think, is a main differentiator. Also, if you look into the crypto space of any of the unregulated exchanges, if you really want to do institutional trading on cryptocurrencies and you want large international banks to join, I think it needs to be set up in this regulatory, let's say, safe way or in this regulatory controlled way, where the investors have the security of having these rules in place.
Yes, that's totally true. I totally agree. Sorry for the short interruption, but OTC means over-the-counter trading, which is what many people still associate with trading, like people hanging on the phone, talking directly to their counterparts and making deals there. That would be what is in banks or insurance companies almost a thing of the past, called over-the-counter trading. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so looking at the regulatory, let's say, levels, you have an MTF, which is then already pretty regulated. And then the next step is actually the exchange. There is even more rules, but for the purpose of cryptocurrencies, I think an MTF license is perfectly suitable and fine. So this is why we decided to actually do that. And have this in this regulatory way that we want to offer these type of asset class and products to our customers.
Let us get a little bit into the BISON trading app. First, it's of course an interesting idea from a Germany-based company to call it like a North American mammal. Interesting naming. Maybe you have a story behind this, and I would be interested who could use it in terms of citizenship, in terms of location. Can you use it from all over the world to trade cryptocurrencies? And how does a customer journey user experience would look like on this app?
Yeah. So first of all, a few words about the brand name. So yes, bison. Why bison? First of all, it's a beautiful animal. It's strong, and it has this kind of herding idea where you bring together a lot of people, or you bring together the herd, which then relates to you bring together a lot of people into an asset class. By the way, a bison is not only an animal in North America. It used to be also existing in Europe, but it was some time ago, unfortunately, extinguished. So the other point of bison is, of course, we do want to bring in a lot of the traditional trading world into a completely new asset class. So, in the traditional world, bear and bull is the two animals that resemble the markets, right? And if you look at the bison, it looks a little bit like a mixture between a bear and a bull, and obviously it has this strong association. Also, the bison is quite similar to the bull. And the idea of the app actually was pretty simple. So back then, crypto trading was totally difficult for the mass market to actually go into it. So you have a lot of issues. So first of all, you have these wallets, private key, public key. 99% of the people out there in the street don't really get the difference between the private and the public key. And if you explain it to them, they're like, okay, that's too much information. I think it's not interesting for me. And then you also have these news about fraud, about hacking attacks to crypto exchanges. And we thought if you could take away all these critical points, having a product within Germany under a regulated regime in Germany from a regulated institution that would offer you these type of assets, and you take away all the complications, make it very simple, make it very smooth and easy access. So from the user experience or the customer experience, everything needs to go mobile first, one app. Onboarding happens within 3 to 5 minutes. You set up your account, you send over your fiat money, and it reaches a German bank account. And with all these obstacles taken away, we thought it's a great product to really bring crypto assets to a mass marketable area. I was also asked at a lot of crypto conferences where I see the biggest obstacles when it comes to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Obviously, these were quite tech-related conferences, and everybody was always thinking my answer would be, this protocol is inferior here, this protocol is inferior there. But actually, my answer was always the same. I said, the biggest problem of cryptocurrencies is that nobody cares about it. And that, as a fact, is, of course, quite insulting to the people who have spent so much dedication into this space of cryptocurrencies. And I don't mean to insult, but actually, as of now, and maybe after the announcement of Facebook's Libra, we get a little bit of rattling in the space of cryptocurrencies. But before, really, it was very niche of a niche, and only few people were interested about it. Now we can see there's a lot more interest on the retail space, obviously, also due to the hypes and in the price increasement, but also on the institutional side. Institutions actually think that it can be an interesting asset class. And of course, they also see the demand that they get from their retail side. So we're moving gradually into the space where we start this mass adoption, and therefore we created a product that is actually mass marketable.
Talking about mass market, which markets are you talking about? This podcast has been charted in 41 countries across the world, and my question would be, which of those countries could use your app? I assume the US and China are out right now. How about South America, Africa, Asia?
That's a great question. So actually, the app can be used 72 nations worldwide. However, you need to have your principal seat of residency within the European Union or Switzerland. So this is mandatory. And I mentioned before, and I talked a lot about this regulatory setup. This regulatory setup, on the one hand, I see this super positive, and I think it's actually the way we need to go, because it gives stability and this kind of, let's say, transparency and secureness to investors. On the other hand, this also, of course, sets up certain restrictions that you have. We are a financial institution providing the service. As a financial institution, you have very strict rules on AML. Yeah, you have very strict rules on many other topics and how you do the development of your product, how you test the product, how you secure that it's actually all running smoothly and can be run by any party and can be audited and monitored by third parties. So having these restrictions makes it a little bit more complicated. So unfortunately, we're not able to provide the product throughout the whole world in all locations. It's mainly within Europe, but as I mentioned, 72 nations. So also if you're, for instance, from Kazakhstan or from Australia, living in Europe, you can use BISON.
Just want to add, AML refers to anti-money laundering, meaning you have to make sure that the money is not coming from dubious, like drug-related causes and is laundered there to be legal again. So what can people trade there in the BISON app? Is it like the whole universe of cryptocurrencies?
So at the moment, we are offering Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ether, and XRP, which a lot of people also refer to as Ripple, which, and if you go into the communities, you get bashed if you say, we trade Ripple, because it's actually XRP, but I don't want to go into these details. So this is at the moment what we offer in the app for trading. The idea is that we onboard another set of cryptocurrencies, which will be around 10 to 20 more within next year. Also here, obviously, my wish and the wish of the customers would be to have these up and running already now. But we have to do a lot of background check about the cryptocurrencies from the regulatory perspective, from the legal perspective, from the tax perspective, from the custody perspective, because one big part of the app is actually that we do custody on an escrow account. So the cryptos are actually custodied within a subsidiary of Börse Stuttgart Group. Be careful. It doesn't mean that it's not your keys, not your coins. It is not your keys, not your coins, as long as you decide to leave it with us, obviously, but you always have the possibility to take the cryptocurrencies to your own wallets and also to bring them back into our system. Here, again, we have to have a really important set of rules for the anti-money laundering in place, that we can secure that the cryptos that come into our system are not connected to any kind of illegal activity or are being used for money laundering. So that also means, compared to other crypto trading platforms, which are completely coming from a party that is not regulated by a German regulator, it has slower processes in some kinds. So I just give you an example. If you would bring in 50K in fiat in a cryptocurrency of any kind, let's say Bitcoin, there's automatically a check and the check will be on a manual basis. You probably will be even asked questions where you have the money from, because after a certain set of after a certain level of money inflow or money outflow, we are bound to really fulfill our regulatory and standards, and that we can secure that this money is not being used in any terms of AML.
So that means you have a lot of regulation to go through, a lot of hoops and loops to jump through, but basically you manage that to enable people trading with a regulated financial institution and keep their cryptocurrencies there. When I think about that, is it just the BISON app, or would it be possible for a fintech entrepreneur out here who's listening or watching this, that they would be able to kind of connect to your multilateral trading facility?
That's exactly the point why we created the Börse Stuttgart digital exchange, because BISON is pure retail focus, pure, let's say, bilateral trading against EUWAX. But on the Börse Stuttgart digital exchange, the setup is actually also for institutional clients. So if you are a startup, if you are a financial institution, if you are whoever, we have everything on an API base that you can connect to the MTF and do your trading there. You will be onboarded as an institutional client. Of course, there will be checks, background checks about the company, background checks about the management. But once this is there, you're connected and you can do fully automated trading there over our APIs.
I see. And everybody who'd like to learn more can go down here in the show notes. There will be a link to downloading the BISON app, as well as going to digital exchange of Börse Stuttgart. Ulli, it was a great pleasure having you here. Thank you for making the time so short before Christmas. I know getting close to the end of such a crazy year, you have to be drowning in work.
Thank you very much, Joe. It was a pleasure for being able to speak here. So thanks again, and wishing you all the best for Christmas and the upcoming year.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.